Hi, Freedom Queen, and welcome back to season 1 of The Art of Moving the Masses. This is episode number 6, where I'm going to be speaking about making 10 million in under 5 years and the lessons and wisdom that I gained from each of these 10 memories. So you'll notice a common pattern between each of these 10 lessons. I was thinking about it as I was writing out this episode. You notice a lesson, and it's going to back everything that we've been talking about thus far. So, lesson number 1 and memory number 1. One of my favorite ones. So, in 2021, I was new into business. It was my first year inside of Freedom Queen, and I hadn't made 6 figures yet inside of the company. And I decided to host a retreat. Now, I had never been on a retreat. To this day, let me think about this. Have I been on a retreat? No. To this day, I still haven't been on somebody else's retreat, and I don't plan on going on one. But the point is that 2021, my first retreat ever, I had never hosted a retreat before. I'd never been on someone's retreat. And I had 2 months to sell it out in Costa Rica. And this was during a time of COVID was still around. So not many people were flying. Costa Rica didn't require any sort of like vaccines or anything like that. I never got the vaccines. So that's why I was in Costa Rica. And it didn't have many travel restrictions. So I was like, okay, Costa Rica, I'm going to host this retreat. And I remember when I dropped the retreat, I remember being really afraid. Like, are people going to buy this? I didn't know if people would get on a plane and fly, like spend thousands of dollars on the retreat, get on a plane, come to the retreat in person. And I remember being really afraid. I remember not knowing like who's going to come. I remember when I dropped it, I went right before I posted on my Instagram story. I remember where I was standing down this dirt road in Costa Rica. And I remember saying to myself, God, what if people don't come? Like, what if I sell one spot and no one shows up? And I sold the retreat every single day. I showed up, and we ended up having a sold out retreat in less than 2 months. And it was one of the best retreats of my life. To this day, it was the best retreat that I've ever done. Although I do feel like this retreat, so I don't call them retreats anymore. I call them luxury weekends. This luxury weekend that I'm going to be doing at the Ritz in Costa Rica in May is going to beat that retreat that I did in Costa Rica in 2021 in terms of the feel, the vibe, the people that are coming. I'm like, that's going to be my favorite event that I've ever done. So I did the retreat. It sold out. And one of the things that it taught me was even though I was incredibly afraid, even though I had a lot of doubt in my mind, I could still get anything that I wanted. If I moved myself, other people would move. And that's why I'm recording this, because it's a part of the Art of Moving the Masses season 1. It's like, if I moved, I could get other people to move. If I didn't show up the way that I showed up, because I gave it my all and sold out the retreat, nobody would have been a part of it. Like, nobody would have said yes. But I showed up for it like it was the best thing in the world. And to this day, that's one of my favorite retreats. I actually remember I took the women on this waterfall hike, and it was so difficult. Oh my God, I thought I was going to die. I was like, did I have them sign waivers? Like, I don't think at that time I had people sign like legal waivers to be a part of the retreat. And I remember I dunked myself underwater and I said, one day I'm going to have $1 million business. That was 5 years ago. And I now have a $10 million company. That's incredible. I remember thinking like $1 million, that's so far away. Now I have a $10 million company. That's crazy. So that's lesson number 1, memory number 1. Memory number 2 was in 2022. I had just crossed 6 figures for the year prior. I was signing on clients. I was making like 20K, 15K months. And I kind of remember feeling like I kind of wanted to quit. Like, the first year in business was great, but I just remember feeling like this is kind of hard. Like, and I don't really know if I like it. It's not that I was afraid of hard work. It's like, I just didn't really start to see the full rewards of what I was experiencing and how hard I was working. So Robbie and I, we were in Portugal and we said, let's go to Thailand. And it was during COVID and no one was flying to Thailand. So we booked business class on Emirates. And I remember before I got on the flight, Robbie's like, did you tell anyone that you're going to Thailand? I'm like, no. I'm like, okay, let me call my mom. Mom, I'm going to Thailand. Okay, bye. And I get on the plane and the people asked us if it was our honeymoon. And we had only been dating for like a year at this point. We're like, no, it's not our honeymoon, but this is hilarious, kind of foreshadowing our life to this day. And we get on the plane and we fly to Thailand. And because I didn't have the COVID shot, we had to quarantine for a week in Thailand. So we are in this hotel and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to host a masterclass. I'm going to give it all I've got. Because of the time zone, I had to host a masterclass at 6 in the morning. So I woke up at like 5 a.m. and I wake up at 5 in the morning. Robbie's in the bed next to me, I think in his robe. He's awake. He's got to listen to the whole masterclass. I delivered the masterclass, and that month I had a $60,000, I think it was $68,000 sales month, and it was like $30-something thousand cash. And that was a really big deal for me. I was like, okay, now we're talking. Like, this is happening. And I remember I would stay up late every night working. I ended up hosting another masterclass that very next month in June. And my business started compounding like crazy. And again, what it showed me is when I move, the world moves. Even with the doubt, I just told you before that I was like wanting to quit my business. Even with the doubt, even with the fear of like, what if this works? What if it doesn't work? If when I move, the world moves. My next memory is, oh yes. So we were in Thailand and we had stayed in Airbnbs that were anywhere from like 1K to 2K per month in rent, maybe even 1K to 2K per month, maybe even 3K. And we would split that. And one Airbnb that we had moved to, we moved into this Airbnb and it was not as good as it looked on the pictures. It was really bad. There were bugs in the place. It smelled really bad. It was gross. And we said, we cannot stay here. But for whatever reason, most of the Airbnbs in that area, on that island that we were living on in Samui, were booked out. So we had to go find another Airbnb. We're searching on the internet on Airbnb and we find one. And it's $11,000 a month. And we're thinking to ourselves, we cannot afford $11,000 a month Airbnb, so let's negotiate because everything in life is negotiable. So we ask them, can you reduce it by 50%? And we get them down to just over 5K a month. And we get them down to just over 5K a month. I was thinking, do I want to tell you something else? But no. We get them down to just over 5K. And I remember we walk in this villa. It was a 4 or 5 story villa. It had an infinity pool. It had a gym. It had a game area. It had a movie theater. It had 4 bedrooms, floor to ceiling, vaulted ceilings. It was beautiful. Floor to ceiling windows and vaulted ceilings. It was gorgeous. And I remember walking in this house saying, I'm going to make $50K cash this month. Now, mind you, the rent increase was scary. It was like, we had never paid that much. That was double what we had previously paid. I was scared of that. But being in that environment and pushing myself that way, this is why investing in yourself works the way that it does, because being in that environment, it made me want to show up bigger. That month was still to this day one of the most impactful months in my business career. I remember I crossed $50,000 cash and I ended up doing $62K cash for that month. And I cried. That was the first time, I think the only time, that I had cried over a milestone because it was something that I had wanted for so long. I remember that January, I wrote on a sticky note 50K cash months. I didn't have my first 50K cash month until August of that year. And it was pivotal for me. I cried because I knew how I showed up all year. I knew who I had to be in order to make that amount of money. And it was a lot of work, and I had overcome a lot of challenges. But again, me doing something that pushed me out of my comfort zone made me move the world. I made that amount of money that month because I moved myself first. So that was lesson number 3. Lesson number 4 is a funny lesson. I've told this story a couple of times. So after that 50K cash month or 62K cash month I was hosting a retreat in Portugal in a castle, like a massive, beautiful castle. Now, I sold that retreat out in January, February of that year. So by the time, I'd almost sold it out, but by the time I got to that retreat, I had felt like I had outgrown everyone that was attending the retreat. I felt like I had outgrown the idea, like everything was shifted, which is why I do events differently now. I learned a lot from that experience. And that weekend was really hard for me. Some certain things happened where I felt like really disappointed in people. I felt disappointed in myself because it wasn't what I wanted, although I was there and I had to lead. And I remember on the final day, there were some issues with the Airbnb for some reason. Like I got charged for something that I shouldn't have gotten charged for. It was minor, but it was still frustrating. And I remember as I waved goodbye to all of the retreat clients, just sobbing. I remember crying my eyes out. I remember being like, this cannot be it. Like this, I hated that weekend. Even though it was so, looking back in hindsight, I'm always able to see how green the grass is in hindsight. But looking back on it, it's beautiful. I mean, oh my God, it's amazing. I would not advise anyone to rent a very old castle for retreat. Although it was beautiful, I will be staying at the Ritz. Thank you very much. This is why we're doing our luxury weekend at the Ritz, which is going to be amazing. There's like 50 to 100 people coming. It's just going to be awesome. But anyways, I was really down. I mean, I was really, really hard on myself. I was down and out. I was like, this sucks. So after that, I went to a conference. I think it was my second year going to that conference. And that conference changed my life. I remember the first day going into that conference thinking to myself, like, I'm this Miss Priss. I know what I'm talking about. Super ego driven. I sat in the back. You should never sit in the back. Always go to the front. I don't care who you are, how much money you've made. Go to the front. You're not that good. There's something to learn. Go to the front. So I go to the front after day 2. And I remember feeling, oh my gosh, I remember being so moved by that weekend. My now husband, at that time he was my boyfriend, he bought the 25K offer. I was already in a mastermind and we got to go to the mastermind stuff together, the 25K for the year offer. And I remember my whole life changing. I remember feeling like, oh my God, I can do anything. I remember feeling like I'm going to scale this company to 100K cash months. And it was a conference that changed my life. And that's always my mission with Freedom Queen Live, is for it to change you energetically. That's what I want. I want you to leave Freedom Queen Live like, I can do anything. That's what I want for you with Freedom Queen Live. I want you to leave our yearly conference like, holy crap, I can do this. Because that's what that event did for me so many times. And I left that event and I immediately decided to launch a evening in a penthouse on Billionaires Row in New York City with a client. We're partnering together, co-hosting this. And I charged for those 4 to 5 hours of the event in Billionaires Row, the same amount that I had charged for this week in this castle in Portugal. And I gave myself, again, 2 months to sell it out. I don't know why I do this to myself. 2 months to sell it out. And I was like, I can do this. I worked so hard to sell out this event. We sold it out, but really there was like no limit to the amount of people that we can have at that event. But it felt like, okay, we sold it out. There was, I think it was 13 or 14 people there, maybe 15. I don't remember the exact amount, because we had people booking it like up until the very last couple of days. It was incredible. And I did that event, and those months, November and December, I started making $98K $1,000 cash months. And I started doing $100,000 sales months, $200,000 sales months in one period because I had a multi-six-figure launch. And again, it was like the challenges are happening. I can move. I'm the one with the power. Let me move the world. And I moved the world, even though, again, I was in so much pain. Like it really, really hurt what I had just experienced. So that was lesson number 4. Again, kind of all the same type of lessons, same exact situations, but so same lesson, same situation. I went through something difficult. I found the inner strength. I chose to rise. I moved myself and the world moved as a result. The next thing, end of 2023. So a year goes by, end of 2023. Okay. It's so funny how all of these lessons are the exact same thing. And I want this to really just like sink in with you, which is my favorite quote that I created. At any point in time, you can decide to become a bigger version of yourself. It's so true. Whether you're at the top of the mountain or you're at the bottom, you're at the middle, doesn't matter. You can just decide. And I'm actually thinking about this for myself as I'm listening to myself speak. So lesson number 5, at the end of 2023, I was very close to crossing $1 million cash for the year. Now, prior to that, again, I went through a very difficult time. There's a pattern here going on. I went through something again where I really started to not like the online space. I started to hate the online space, actually. I hated coaching. I hated people. I hated everyone. It's like, you're all dumb. I stopped investing in this one mentor who at the time was great, but I had just moved on from that relationship. And I kind of just started to like unplug a little bit. And again, I went to this event in person and I felt like recharged with my life again, excited about what I was building, really proud of myself for what I had created. I invested in a $50,000 mastermind for the year. That's right. I invested $50,000 in this mastermind. I had all these events included in it. And my company, again, started taking off. I started having my highest cash days, record-breaking days. I started doing like 17K cash in a day. At that time, that was like, wow, what? But consistently. Like it's not every day because that would be a huge month, but I saw like it happening more consistently. It was more repeated. And at the end of that year, something really pivotal happened, which is Robbie and I bought a house, one of our houses that we own today, which is so cool to say one of our houses. One of our houses that we own today. It was brand new. A couple was trying to buy it, but something fell out with them. It wasn't working. It was on the market for a little while. And as soon as we walked into this house, we were like, this is our house. This is it. I knew it as we were driving up to it. I'm like, this is our house. It's this perfect home in Costa Rica in the jungle. And it had 3 bedrooms. 2 of the bedrooms were like over on this certain area that were kind of like our office. 1 bedroom was a master bedroom. So we each have our own offices in a wing in the house. And then we have our master bedroom, which is across from the library, which is amazing. So our work was separate. We put a sauna in it as a pool, like everything we could ever want. And we bought this house. And that was a huge deal because it was really difficult to buy a house in a foreign country at the time. We didn't know how to do it now. Now we know, but then we didn't know. At that point, we didn't know how to build a house, buy a house in a foreign country. So again, it was like, okay, difficult time, make a move to change my life, move the world, have so much income that I can buy almost $1 million home in Costa Rica, brand new, turnkey, ready to move in. Huge change in my life. Next lesson number 6, is my first $200,000 cash month. This was pivotal for me because by then I had already been making 6-figure cash months for exactly 1 year. 6-figure cash months consistently for 1 year. And I started to feel like, okay, we got to go to 200K months now, 200K, 300K, which is what started to happen. I went to 200, 300 immediately after that. And I started to feel like this resentment towards myself, this frustration, this friction. And if you notice a pattern, anytime I start feeling the friction resistance, there's a big blow up that's about to happen, right? Disruption follows intention. You're going to experience the friction once you start to decide that you're going to go for something. So I start to experience all this resistance, this friction, and I start to say to myself, look, you can take the route that doesn't move people and be angry and be upset, or you can take the route where you know you're guaranteed to make a lot of money. You're guaranteed to have a lot of success. You're guaranteed to be free. So obviously, I chose the route where I was free and happier, and I really took all of that frustration and used it into freedom. I said to myself, well, maybe you're not that good. Maybe you do need to improve. Maybe you do need to get better. And I did. I jumped to 200K cash in a month that next month. And I would say that was one of the ones after the 50K cash month, that was one of the ones that really, I think, changed my life, because making 100K in a month was cool, but making $200,000 in a month, I was like, this is a lot of money. $200,000. Like, this is a house. This is a small house, but it's a house. And then right after that, I had another 200K cash month. And then I had a 300K cash month right after that. And I'm telling you, the difference between 300K in a month and 100K in a month is massive. Very different. You are totally different people. 100K in a month now looks like a 10K month. Again, it was, who am I going to choose to be? Am I going to move? Am I going to become this person? Let's do this. And the reality is that all of those months, the 12 months leading up to my first 200K month, I had the opportunity to do that same thing, right? Like, I could have said, let's go make it now. Let's go make the 200K month now. Let's go make that amount of money. Why didn't I do that? I don't know. It's just something to think about. Like, why didn't I actually go for it that month or any other month prior? Why did I wait an entire year to jump to that? The next thing, another big lesson and memory for me was on the way to 10 million was Freedom Queen Live the first year. So Freedom Queen Live the first year, for those of you that have been inside of Freedom Queen for a while, you'll know that I had to reschedule it because a hurricane hit that area, like Category 5 hurricane that they hadn't had for 100 years, comes and hits and disrupts the entire thing. I won't go into all of the story, all the little intricacies of it, but that really exploded my business. Something so difficult exploded my business in one of the best ways. Yeah, it was really challenging, but it also made me grow as a human being. It made my company grow, my team grow, like literally everything grew as a result of that. And Freedom Queen Live, the first year, it was such a great metaphor for what I teach inside of this season, but also inside of the book. And if you're not inside of the book club, make sure you get inside of that space. It's such a good metaphor because no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to protect you. No one's going to sell at your event. No one's going to give you the confidence that you say that you want. No one's going to do that for you. You have to do that for yourself first. And every single time I would show up to sell the event or try different strategies, now I actually have an events program coming up on how to sell out your big deal events. But I didn't know it that time. I was just testing everything. No one in the marketplace had done this yet in the female coaching industry. I was like, well, I'm going to figure it out for us. And now there's 500 million live events, which is amazing because they really need it, especially right now with AI. People want real human connection, I believe, more now than ever. That event made me show up in ways that I never had. It showed me all my blind spots. It made me work way harder, too hard in some ways. And it really increased my capacity to be able to hold a lot more. Things that I didn't even know that I was capable of doing. So that event, yeah, I mean, obviously I had to move the world, but it was the most like friction that I experienced while moving things. And even when the walls came up, that's when I had to show up and move it even more and believe that I could actually put on an event like that to that degree. Because other people told me like, oh yeah, I do events. And I was like, you're not doing an event like I'm doing an event. That's cool. I'm great. Glad you're doing that 200-person event, 100-person event, whatever. They're not doing it like this. And so not only did I not have the proof and evidence from other people, I was also experiencing so many challenges, and I had to keep going in the face of so many of my own enemies. And it was just one of the best experiences of my life. I often pray for experiences like that. And I know that that sounds really crazy, but I just saw who I became. Last year, Robbie and I, we were laying in bed one morning and we prayed for something to come into our life that was going to radically change us. And immediately, something did come into our life where we actually moved from Costa Rica to Puerto Rico. And for some reason, people can't hold this idea that like when I say move, we still live in Costa Rica. Like people want to like just get you in one place. Like you're only in Puerto Rico now. We've been experiencing that where people are like, oh wait, you're going back to Costa Rica, so that means that you're done with Puerto Rico? And we're like, no, we are free people. Right now I'm in Bali. We're in Costa Rica. We have multiple houses there. We're either building our dream home in Puerto Rico this year, or we're going to buy and then shape it to be our dream home. I don't know why people can't grasp that, but it happens. I think people just want you to be inside of their box. Like this is where you are and you stay here and you stay there forever and that's all you are. Don't change, because when you change, it changes how I see myself. I think that's probably what it is. But so we prayed for something to change in our life, and Robbie's business partner, Robbie had this man working for him, and then this man and him were like, okay, let's go into business together. And he was moving to Puerto Rico, and Robbie had been talking about moving to Puerto Rico forever. And I was like, I don't know, like Puerto Rico, tax benefits, whatever. And so we never like agreed on it, but we never really had a serious conversation on it. And one day I'm working in my office in Costa Rica. After we had just prayed for something to change our life, Robbie comes in, he says, we are moving to Puerto Rico in 1 week, pack your bags. And I'm like, okay. You know, because he moved with energetic certainty. And if you're inside of the book club, I just did a whole live stream on energetic certainty and how it's so powerful. Like energetic certainty is what will move people and make them say yes. So I say yes because of his energetic certainty. And we go to Puerto Rico and our whole life changed. Then I started making consistent 400K cash months. And it was like, okay, again, I move, the world moves. That was not even a part of one of my lessons. The next biggest memory and moment on my journey to 10 million in under 5 years was my Times Square feature in New York City. At this time, no one had really been doing these like Times Square features and billboards like they are now in the female coaching industry. I had been reached out to by a company that I had partnered with. It was a software company. They're actually one of our sponsors for, actually, I don't know if I can disclose this information. Okay, never mind, moving on from that. But they had asked me, they had said, we want to feature you in Times Square. And I was like, amazing. This is awesome. Like, thank you so much. And they weren't going to do anything like where they're, you know, sometimes when you get featured, it's like their logos on the thing. I hate stuff like that. It's like, I just want to be my brand. Get your stuff out of here. Just my brand. And I remember I wanted it to be a big deal. So I sold tickets to see the premiere, and we all spent some time together afterwards for those of you that were there with me at the premiere. I think we had like 20 to 25 people buy tickets to it for $100. And it was just like a way to bring people together and show like, if I made it, you can do it too. And I brought my mom there. It was an amazing weekend. I sold a VIP dinner. That was incredible with some amazing clients. I did a VIP day with some of our top affiliates. It was just amazing. I remember I stood in Times Square with my assistant, my mom. Robbie wasn't there. He didn't come. And my videographer. And I remember I was shaking. Like my body was just in overwhelm because there was something big happening in Times Square, of course. There was so many people crowding around in Times Square already. I was in the middle of launching my annual I Made It May challenge, which is a huge challenge. I cannot wait for it this year. I mean, it was just such a big deal. The people were around. I was in this beautiful ball gown. The police officers would let me go out into the middle of the road and take pictures, even though they wouldn't let anyone else out. It's also a part of my YES methodology. If you're not inside the book club, you got to learn that. I feel like this is a promo for the book club. It's just so good. And they let me get whatever I wanted to get. And that, it was just a huge moment. I actually ended up getting some hate around that. I didn't realize, like, people were thinking I paid for that billboard. I did not pay for that billboard. People paid me. They actually paid for my team's flights and my team's hotel. They offered to pay for my hotel, but it wasn't the hotel that I wanted. I wanted something better, so I just paid for it. And it was a pivotal moment for me because I got hate. I got so much new attention in the brand, and it was life-changing for me. That month, I jumped to, it wasn't a $400K cash month in month to month. It was $40K cash in 32, or $400K cash in 32 days inside of the business. Again, not including my other businesses. The next one, lesson number 9, memory number 9, was when I was at Freedom Queen Live 2025. And we do an award ceremony every year at Freedom Queen Live, for those of you that haven't been. And the award ceremony is one of my favorite parts of the weekend because it's time where women get these awards for how much money they've made inside of their business, and they get to walk the stage in front of everyone. And these women walk the stage, and for the first time, I mean, it was so different, is in 2024, there weren't that many women walking the stage getting the $1 million. But in 2025, it was so obvious that it increased the amount of people that had walked the stage to get the award. And it was just incredible seeing them walk the stage and get their $1 million awards. I mean, even the 6-figure had increased, the multi-6-figure, the multi-million awardees walked the stage. And that was just incredible to see how many more people had made more money. I mean, I had one client go from she walked the stage and got the 6-figure award. The next year she walked the stage and got the $1 million award. It was so beautiful, and it was my favorite part of Freedom Queen Live. No one in the audience knew this, but my extended family, like my aunt and uncle, were actually in the audience. And I looked over at them. And they've always wanted to, like, know different parts of my business. And I've always said no because I like to keep family and business separate. And I looked over at them and they were just so happy seeing all of the women walk the stage. And it was like, if they could see any part of my business, I think that would be the best part for them to see, because there are some more difficult sides to it. And it was just awesome. I get a little emotional thinking about it. Like, I remember each woman that would walk up, and I was just like, yes, like I was smiling so big for them. I really felt them and all that they've done for their businesses, especially the people where you could just feel that it was like they really worked for it. That it was just like they felt it for themselves. It's like, I did this. And you could feel it radiate off them. And then to see, I mean, the women around them in the audience cheering them. It was my favorite part of Freedom Queen Live 2025. I just got to talk with some of the women that were in the audience. It was so beautiful. I got to see all of them celebrate. It was my favorite part. And it was pivotal for me because a lot of my business this year, going to 20 million, going to 100 million, who knows, going to 1 billion, is a lot about reaching more people. That's what I know is on my horizon. Your Freedom Queen name is going to start reaching a lot more people, like really mass market. And I'm really excited for that. I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to Freedom Queen name being famous and known around the world even more. I feel like the impact really happening throughout the brand right now. So that was really cool for me. Okay, and the last one here on lesson. Okay, wait, I want to cement that last lesson with one more piece. So 5 years prior to that, I had went to an event and I watched people walk the stage and get $1 million awards. And there weren't that many women walking the stage. And I remember feeling like, where are all the women? Where are the women walking the stage getting these awards? So 5 years later, to see so many women walk the stage and get all different types of awards, million, multi-millions, 500K, 100K, it was like, I did that. I moved and the world moved. I created this opportunity for people, which is just, it's incredible. It's awesome. I get emotional thinking about it. It actually really it's just awesome. Okay, next thing, being able to take an entire week offline and still make 6 figures. So I don't take time off. I have a lot of freedom in my schedule, but in terms of like literally closing down the tech, removing social media from my phone, Telegram, everything, like I'm not going to check an email, a DM, a Telegram message. I'm not even going to like create content. I've never done that ever in my whole life. And I took an entire week offline, and Robbie and I went to the Ritz Maldives for our honeymoon. And I thought initially, like, I'm going to hate this. Like, I'm going to want to be online. And I loved it. I loved it so much. A lot of like who I am as a human being came through. Like I had forgotten a lot of me, Bridget James, of the person. Like I've been so in the brand and in Freedom Queen, like a lot more of just me came through, which I was so grateful for. Oh my God, my relationship. Robbie and I were like, oh my God, we have such an incredible relationship. Like when we remove all of this extra stuff, we just go down to the core of who we are as humans. It's awesome. So we loved it. And I had a 6-figure week while I was away. So that was really cool. And in 5 days, I mean, that's amazing. 6-figure cash. And anyways, it made me think we're doing that more. So in 2026, I've already taken a lot more time off. And I'm really committed to this year doing more of that and setting up the business even more so that I can do more things like that. So those are my 10 memories of making 10 million in under 5 years. I think one of the craziest things that I'm still kind of really reflecting on and thinking about is last year was 4.5. That was almost more than all of the years combined, which is really, really cool. So who knows what we'll do this year and the year after. It's interesting. The way that I'm seeing 2026 is like I used to see it by the year. For some reason this year I'm seeing like years in a year. I see timeline differently. It's like 2026, 27, 28, 29, 30. Like I'm able to kind of see how the moves I'm making now are for the greater picture of Freedom Queen and where we're going. So yeah. Okay, that's episode number 6, 10 memories of making 10 million under 5 years. I will see you in episode number 7, which is going to be talking about the difference between being powerful and polarizing and how one makes you magnetic and this awesome leader and the other makes you not so good in the marketplace. So I will see you in the next episode number 7, and I'll talk to you soon.